Hello, this is Brother Kevin, and I'm glad to come to you once again with another video. Let me see if I can get some of that light out there. Okay. I got a little power puff there on my face. But anyway, I'm very happy, as always, to bring a video message. And this, of course, is a great review. And I call it great review because I believe it's one of my heart messages, something that God has given me to share with the body of Christ. Now, if those of you who've been following me for a while, you notice that I make a lot of reference to Genesis, particularly the first 3 chapters. And I do that for a reason, because I believe that after chapters 1, 2, and 3, we have almost all of the basic themes that the Bible will express throughout the rest of the canon. And I believe also nature certainly takes its roots from the Genesis account. But one of my root messages or words that God has given me has been this issue of free choice versus submission. And I have spoke about that. And in my very early videos, this is before I got this board back here. In the very early messages, I spent a lot of time with that. And I would choose certain scenarios, but I want to review it and go to Jesus as an example this time, but still take the foundation from the Genesis account. I would like to title this series, The Abiding Factor. And I take that from an old message of mine about 25 years ago, when I first preached it as a layman many, many years ago. Of course, I've learned a lot of things since those early days when I was preaching then. However, I still would like, before we get into the Gospel of John, chapter 6 and 5, and then later we'll get into John 15, because to understand John 15, to understand its nuts and bolts, it's very important to be able to see how Jesus walks it out as an example in John 5. But anyway, I want to go back to some material that I shared with you. We know that the word says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and he will exalt you in due season. Or submit yourself, therefore, unto God. Resist the devil, and he will flee. Well, we have to be able to talk about what it means to submit to God. And when we go back to the Genesis account, understand that God gave Adam and Eve a command. He said to them, be fruitful and to multiply and to replenish the earth and subdue it. But if you really study it, it sounds like another version of the Great Commission, but we won't go into that. I want to make this very, very clear. God gave them specific commandments, and then he told them what they could eat in the garden. And he said to them, all the trees of this garden you can eat, except for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And of course the tree of life was there as well. But he said, you can't eat of this. The day you eat of it, you should surely die. Okay. Now, God establishes that word. And when you look at the discourse with Eve, you understand that she knew about it too. No doubt Adam told her, or she may have heard it from God. Now, she said we shouldn't touch it, and some people make a big deal over that, but actually, if it had equaled her not doing it, okay, or not eating it, it wouldn't have mattered. It's not anything that's that significant in the way I'm looking at it. But what I want to submit to you is that God spoke to them something, and then when the serpent, inspired by Satan, comes into that garden, God doesn't come and intervene. Oh. He could have at any time said, Adam, remember the word, something that we Christians enjoy. We Christians enjoy that when we're tempted with sin, God will speak to our hearts and says, no, you shouldn't do that. Okay. But in this particular case, God doesn't say anything. And since this is going to be an introductory message to a pretty lengthy series, that I want to say to you that God tells us the truth, but he doesn't manipulate. God expects us to trust him and to love him. And our relationship with him should not be based on fear or, results. I'm going to get the bad end of the stick. But it should be based on love. Because God does not intervene while all this is going on. In fact, God does not make an appearance until after it is done. And I really think that we need to take a look at this. Because if we say, oh God, I got this sin in my life. No, you do have it in your life, but you have it in your life because you chose to do it. Regardless of what inspired you to do it, and I'm not saying that how a particular sin came into you was necessarily something you even wanted, and certainly that was not the case in Adam and Eve. Nevertheless, they made a decision to break their relationship with God because of one pivotal fact. They said, this tree will make us wise and make us like God. Okay? And it was good for food. So, Eve took it, gave it to her husband. Her husband wasn't somewhere down the street. He was right there watching all of this. And so that's what I said. I don't believe Adam, as the scripture says, was in the transgression in the sense that he didn't know. Eve was deceived. But Adam was just a dummy. Well, okay. I guess I give guys a harder time because I don't think guys take responsibility for their actions. But anyway, they both fell, and they fell for Satan's lie. You're going to be like God. But to understand, when I start talking about submission versus choice, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this garden scene. And be patient with me because this is not necessarily real easy to unpack. Okay. The way God made all creation is to be in submission to him. It's not that he's saying, okay, I'm going to make everything do what I say. Well, isn't that the way we are? When we create something, we want it to serve our purpose. Okay, let's give God a little bit of lordship over what he intends things to be. Okay, he made everything in creation to serve him. Okay, so there should be nothing in his creation, should be nothing that should be independent of him or doing its own thing. He made everything for his glory and for his purpose. But Satan, who was created a high angel, there are a lot of people that believe he was the chief musician. Now, that may be true. Canon doesn't say that. But there are suspicions that something like that may be very true. Nevertheless, he was filled with glory and wisdom and power. It was a glorious archangel, maybe a cherub. Some people say he was a seraph. I'm not sure about all that, but I do know this: he was probably up there with Michael and Gabriel in that company. Okay, now Satan introduces something brand new that had not been introduced before. Satan introduces, through his pride, he introduces something that we call choice. Now see, in this country, as well as other countries, we glorify choice. I have the right to choose. Well, the first time the right to choose appears, it's over sin. Now, I paused because I wanted you to let that sink in. The first time that free choice shows itself up is in heaven. And what is this choice about? I will be like God. Now, when you look at the Isaiah account and you look at the Ezekiel account, which talks about Satan's rebellion, and particularly Isaiah, he says, I will be like the Most High. This guy's an I will freak. It's what I call the super unholy trinity, me, myself, and I. Well, Satan's got it. 5 times. I. So he introduces something that is unique. Jesus calls him the father of lies. Why? Why would he be the father of lies? Well, when you want to be God when you're not, that sounds like a pretty good lie to me. Okay. I'm being a little sarcastic, but you have to understand a lie is something that's not true. You were created to be an angel, an archangel. You were not created to be God. And besides, God isn't created. You are created, so you couldn't be God. He's a liar and a fool and full of pride. But he wants to take you and I with him in his destruction, in his damnation. So don't serve him. Those of you who are listening to this video, don't serve him. But he introduces this whole thing of choice. I will be as the Most High. I am somebody. Oh yeah. He introduces this new concept. And here's the thing. Okay, God made everything in his creation to be subservient, submitted to him naturally. There's nothing that God made to rebel against him. But Satan does this little deal here. Okay. Now, I'm not sure about Satan's construction, whether that is something that angels have the power to do. I don't know, but I know that the few that did it got judged and bounced out of heaven pretty quickly. So, I mean, it didn't take Jesus a long time. By the way, Jesus never had to even get out of his seat when Satan fell. You know, Jesus says, oh, I saw Satan fall as light from heaven. That means Jesus was looking far away. He said, oh, now why did he do that? Yeah. I mean, I'm just being sarcastic. I'm just saying that there is no fight. There is no battle. There is no competition between the two. It's not even close. Okay? Jesus never got up off his seat. Okay? So, but he will get up off his seat when he comes the second time. All right? Now, but for this first episode with the devil, he didn't even get up off his seat. All right. Now, Satan introduces this theme. And then he reintroduces it in the garden. And he wants to now take mankind down with it. Okay, so this is going to be the basis for our message, our emphasis for this tape series. We're calling this the abiding factor, okay, which is going to be the reason or how we basically overcome this whole thing of submission versus choice. All right, I'll get back to you in the next video, and I think you will enjoy this. I think it will be insightful. All right, God bless you. Bye-bye.